everybody, welcome to Cycle Points Planning with Astrology. I'm Stacy, and Cycle Points is a self-development program that uses intuitive astrology and the archetypes of the zodiac to help discover personal patterns of behavior, personal insights into ways that we hold on to certain patterns of behavior, and certainly to discover ways that we can transform those personal patterns of behavior in order to evolve and grow within our own life's path. Cycle Points draws on 4 points throughout each cycle. We discover clarity through the new moon. We develop awareness through the first quarter moon. We show and create accountability through the full moon, and we have choice and use discernment to follow through with these choices within the last quarter moon. Join me this month as we look at the report for the Aquarius lunar cycle, which begins on Wednesday, January 29th. Aquarius is the sign of the people. It is the visionary. It is innovative. It is progressive. Aquarius wants to work with what is already in place and make it better. Aquarius looks to how groups can work together to collaborate towards common goals. It looks to shared values. It looks to common interests amongst groups of people. Aquarius looks to how we can evolve our ideas and make them better to be more effective, more efficient, and more productive within our society. The new moon in Aquarius brings us clarity as to how we fit into the groups that we belong to, what are the common interests of the groups that we belong to, and how do we work together towards working on those common interests. The first quarter moon in the second week of this cycle looks to Taurus, and that calls upon what are the main values, the deep values, the worth of what it is that we are working towards. What do we want to focus on to work towards that is going to benefit the group as a whole, as well as ourselves individually? And this first quarter moon calls on ways for us to improve and become aware of how we can improve within our self-development by focusing on the true objectives and using our true discernment to see what will be sustainable moving forward within our group interests. The full moon on the third week of this cycle falls under the sign of Leo. Leo is the sign that speaks to our self-authenticity. Leo wants to be loved and admired and respected for what it is that we contribute to our groups. Leo wants to shine for the ways that we contribute to our groups. So what are the innovative ways that we can create change in our groups? Leo will start to provide us with opportunities to share the ways that we are working on these things with our groups of people, to see how it is being received so that we can therefore make further decisions later down the line when it comes to the last week of the cycle, where we'll be within the last quarter moon, and that falls under the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio will ask us to really look towards our fears and towards where we are holding on to needs to control outcomes, needs to control scenarios when it comes to the group and the ways that we want to contribute to the group, but also to what it is that we are focusing on together as a whole, the ways that we are going to work together. What is, again, truly important? What is it that we need to let go of and not be so stubborn about in order to get there and to truly evolve and progress these more mass issues of our groups that we belong to? Aquarius is electric. She is bold. She is discerning. She is detached. She's not looking at emotion. She's looking at ways to make things better. And so when we look at this point of the year, in the grand scale of the zodiac year, we're almost towards the end of the zodiac year, within the last two signs of all the things that we have been building since last April. And so we're coming up on creating another new cycle. But before we get there, we really want to look at the ways that we've been incorporating our projects, our self-development, our passions amongst our groups of people, and how we are wanting to continue to do that moving forward once this cycle is complete. So are we staying with the right groups? Are we with the right people that are sharing our energies? Are we with the right people that see us for who we are? Are we with the right groups that are allowing us to shine in our talents and our skills? That's what Aquarius is all about. But more so, Aquarius is about looking at the way that we work within our systems and finding ways to be unique, to create change, to make it better, to rebel against the norm, to think outside of the box. The new moon in Aquarius falls on January the 29th. The first quarter moon falls on February the 5th. The full moon in Leo falls on February the 12th. And the last quarter moon in Scorpio falls on February the 20th. During week one of this cycle, we're developing clarity as to our groups, as to our common goals and interests, as to our own group goals and interests, and how they can be incorporated into the common goals of the groups that we belong to. The second week, as I mentioned, we are going to be developing awareness as to how we can improve upon what's really important, upon the sustainability of our resources and our efforts. So, what is it that we are really going to be able to focus on here as we build towards creating change within our group and creating progress within our group goals? The third week, again, we look to accountability, how we show up in the world. And this one falls under the full moon in Leo, which really shows us in our self authenticity, how we want to be seen, what is it truest in our hearts that we want to share with other people and the groups that we belong to. And the final week, again, will be under the sign of Scorpio. And Scorpio is all about how we can transmute our fears, transmute the needs that we have to hold on to, the ways that we want things to work out. And truly, once we can let go of those things, we open up ourselves to ideas from the people we work with, from the energies around us, to create even greater, even grander visions. Where do we see Aquarius showing up in our lives? When we look at the birth chart, we are looking at 12 different life arenas where this energy might be showing up for you. Does this have to do with your self identity, how you see yourself and your individualization within your groups of people? Or does this Aquarius energy show up in your house of relationships, where it is that you are really seeing how you can work in those relationships in a reciprocal way to work to the greater good of everybody involved? Is Aquarius showing up in your 10th house, which would have to do with your career and your legacy, where you are working amongst people or you are working for the greater goal of working for humanity, such as working in volunteer organizations or not for profit organizations? There are so many different ways this energy can show up in our world. When we look at Aquarius energy in the 6th house, which covers our day to day and the way we take care of ourselves, we're really looking at how we can manage our resources of time and money and energy to the best way that we are able to care for all the people that are in our world that help to create the system that makes everything work together. And so coming up with new ways to work with that energy. So what I'd like to do within this video is come up with an idea, a theme, a story, and we're going to play with that story as we move through the 4 weeks of the cycle. Let's imagine a group of friends who have lost their mojo. They sit in stuck mental energy, repeating the same get togethers, the same events, and the same hangouts. Normally, they find one another inspiring and uplifting, but over time, their meetups have become more like a chore to schedule in amongst the gazillion other things that everyone has going on in their lives. Individual interests and needs have shifted over time, making it hard for everyone to make time for exploring their interests, creating plans, and generating the resources to feel accomplished within their own personal goals, let alone those of the group. So, the friends decide to individually share their ideas of how they can merge their own unique goals to benefit the group as a whole. One friend suggests getting outdoors more. A different friend agrees, adding that physical activity would be a great bonus to keep the group young and spry, something they specifically have on their list of life to-dos. Someone else pouts and says that they aren't sure that they will have enough motivation to get themselves outside and moving without further incentive, meaning no offense to the rest of the group, of course. They suggest using these meetups as training for a long-term goal that they can work on together. Another friend pipes up and reminds the group of their dream to hike Mount Kilimanjaro and safari and do volunteer work in Africa. What if they make a commitment and start putting resources and plans in place to actually make this happen? The friends plan on getting together weekly to build up their stamina and get their energy for adventure flowing. At an individual level, these meetups help to release fears and insecurities with everyone showing up for the overall goals of the group. The group also takes action in researching possible itineraries and organizations that can help pull it all together. Their passion ignites ideas from each member who sees the potential for their own personal development within that of the group. The group also takes action in researching possible itineraries and organizations. This brings us to our second week with the first quarter moon, the energy of awareness, and the sign of Taurus. This week, we develop awareness as to how to improve sustainable resources and our sense of worth as it pertains to advancing our personal goals and our group contributions. What does that look like? The group plans a trip to the library to narrow in on some of their personal objectives. Narrowing in on what's most valuable to them individually during the experience will allow input as to the resources that will be required to make it happen. As the friends discussed each other's ideal scenarios, they determined the worth and the scope of the overall interests of the group and worked together to come up with the innovative solutions that they need to meet everyone's agendas. Outside of their core group of friends, members also share their ideas regarding their long-term plans with their work people and their family to gain feedback and knowledge from their past experiences or their present experiences or whether or not it's going to work for them at this point. These individuals are also working with the supportive networks in their daily experiences to determine if their plans will actually be feasible. It's an opportunity to broaden the theme of working towards community goals as it extends to all the additional groups that we belong to. The feedback received from supporting networks help to root in the plans that can nurture ideas into fruition. Individuals continue to move the energy forward by enacting boundaries that create space and time for what will be necessary. Armed with certainty, knowledge, and a plan provides security to work with any old stories or limiting beliefs that might otherwise convince them that the whole idea is a flop. We're now into the third week of this Aquarius lunar cycle, where we share accountability under the sign of Leo for our authentic self expression regarding how we want to be seen for our personal innovations and group involvement. As each group member evolves their own story within the common theme, they harness confidence and personal creativity. In group meetings, they come prepared with vision and plans that have already been set in motion so far. Each member takes ownership for making sure what is important to them is included in the group's overall plans. They each have an opportunity to present the ownership they are taking of their journeys. They are also able to shine and take the lead on parts of the plan that they've been focused on bringing together so far. These group meetings start to show how busy the lives of all the members actually are. In order to make this trip happen, they have to get serious in discerning the best time to go, the timeline of the itinerary itself, and all the necessary details that need to be organized before they even leave. Sharing and respecting each other's strengths creates room for partnerships to form within the group so that tasks and responsibilities can be delegated to the best people for the job. This maintains harmony in the group and with equal distribution and sharing of resources to bring plans to reality. Which brings us to the last quarter moon of this cycle. This moon falls under the sign of Scorpio. However, it falls towards the end degrees of Scorpio, therefore sharing in the next sign of the zodiac's energies, which is Sagittarius. In this last quarter moon and this point of choice, we're choosing to follow through with transforming control over the sharing of resources we have with other people as we're exploring our passionate pursuits. With our friend group, as ideas, time, and energy are shared, frustrations start to arise. These are necessary. They help us to dive really deep into the energies that are available so that we can share our resources with others. Each individual in this group is asked to reflect on where they can transform energies in a more effective way by relinquishing control of the way that they think things can be done or managed. As members of the group are forced to adjust or eliminate some of their own personal goals, energy is released to explore other possibilities that might in fact bring even greater reward for all involved. The group can then explore other avenues for reaching their common and singular dreams. Further study into certain aspects of the group's plans provides different perspectives on concerns such as timing and order of events. Defining foundational aspects helps to build structure and discipline that will be needed over the upcoming months in preparation for the main event. Having spent the last 4 weeks moving the energy of their individualized goals and the shared interests of their group, The friends have used their unique skill sets to come up with creative solutions that maximize the benefit for everyone involved. They allowed room for autonomy, so each friend felt that they had a piece of the plan they could call their own. This last quiet, dark time of the end of the Aquarius lunar cycle really draws upon our ability to use detached discernment to see what the bigger picture is. It looks back at the 4 weeks that we have just walked through. It looks to where we received clarity as to the groups we belong to over the last 4 weeks and how we fit into those groups. It looked to things that we're passionate about, new ideas that we want to grow and progress and advance and evolve. And if we were already with the right people, or if we have met new people within the last 4 weeks that we have formed some camaraderie with and that we now want to work collaboratively with to work towards these goals over the next 11 months to come. The Aquarius energy that we've used is not just sitting with us for the last 4 weeks, but we will use this energy over the next 11 months before we get into the next new moon of the sign, which will not happen until 2026. So I hope that this video was a little bit of a guide as to how you can watch these energies or feel these energies progress themselves throughout the months to, or sorry, the 4 weeks to come. And if it does, and you are so inclined, and if you feel so inclined, subscribe to me here on YouTube, follow me on Instagram, and you can also find me on Substack with weekly articles that have to do with letting the cosmos guide us along our journey. Take care for now. I hope to see you next time.